Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Very glad you're here. Good to see you, and thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome to this comfy, quiet, cozy little corner of the internet where we do a little drinking and a little thinking. So come join me if you will. I'd be very honored if you would. And hopefully we learned something today that we didn't know yesterday. I brought the old Earl Grey yet again. I know, pretty boring, I guess, but once you find something good, why change, right? So, anyway, that being said, cheers to you. And Jesus too. Oh yeah. You just can't go wrong. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, doing yet another video on our War Is A Racket series. And this is going to be the last chapter, chapter 5. For those of you who don't know, I fully encourage you to go check out my previous videos on chapters 1 through 4. We're going to do chapter 5 today. Really good book, written by a Marine General, Brigadier General Smedley D. Butler. Great guy, saw a lot of things, horrible things, and he has some pretty good ideas on how to change them and, fix them. So, yeah. I think that about covers it. So, without further ado, let's dive right into it. Now before we start actually, there's actually more to this book. There's chapter 5, and then there's a second half to the book, and it's called Common Sense Neutrality. But this is very time specific, if you know what I mean. Like this is in the period between World War I and World War II. So this last half of the book really pertains to that time period. There's a lot of stuff, where you kind of had to be there sort of thing. And it's really good. I mean, I've read it, but I don't think it's kind of relevant. It's a little dry, so I figured we'd stop with chapter 5, because that's officially the end of War Is A Racket, and then the second half, like I said, is called Common Sense Neutrality. So, I guess what I'm saying is, go online. I'll link it below. There's plenty of places you can read the whole book for free, or you can pick it up at your local bookstore or online retailer of choice. And it's a good read. Like I said, a little dry, so I don't want to bore you too much. So we'll just stop with chapter 5. So, yeah. Anyway, chapter 5, the title of which reads, "To Hell with War." And it reads as follows. I am not a fool as to believe that war is a thing of the past. I know the people do not want war, but there is no use in saying we cannot be pushed into another war. Looking back, Woodrow Wilson was re-elected president in 1916 on a platform that he had, quote, kept us out of war, and on the implied promise that he would, quote, keep us out of war. Yet, 5 months later, he asked Congress to declare war on Germany. In that 5-month interval, the people had not been asked whether they had changed their minds. The 4 million young men who put on uniforms and marched or sailed away were not asked whether they wanted to go forth to suffer and die. Then what caused our government to change its mind so suddenly? Money. An Allied commission, it may be recalled, came over shortly before the war declaration and called on the president. The president summoned a group of advisors. The head of the commission spoke, stripped of its diplomatic language. This is what he told the president and his group. Quote, there is no use kidding ourselves any longer. The cause of the Allies is lost. We now owe you, American bankers, American munitions makers, American manufacturers, American speculators, American exporters, $5 or $6 billion. If we lose, and without the help of the United States we must lose, we, England, France, and Italy, cannot pay back this money, and Germany won't. So, had secrecy been outlawed as far as war negotiations were concerned, and had the press been invited to be present at that conference, or had radio been available to broadcast the proceedings,
America never would have entered the World War. But this conference, like all war discussions, was shrouded in utmost secrecy. When our boys were sent off to war, they were told it was a, quote, war to make the world safe for democracy, and a, quote, war to end all wars. Well, 18 years later, the world has less of democracy than it had then. Besides, what business is it of ours whether Russia or Germany or England or France or Italy or Austria live under democracies or monarchies, whether they are fascists or communists? Our problem is to preserve our own democracy. And very little, if anything, has been accomplished to assure us that the World War was really the war to end all wars. Yes, we have had disarmament conferences and limitations of arms conferences. They don't mean a thing. One has just failed. The results of another have been nullified. We send our professional soldiers and our sailors and our politicians and our diplomats to these conferences. And what happens? The professional soldiers and sailors don't want to disarm. No admiral wants to be without a ship. No general wants to be without a command. Both mean men without jobs. They are not for disarmament. They cannot be for limitations of arms. And at all these conferences, lurking in the background, but all powerful, just the same, are the sinister agents of those who profit by war. They see to it that these conferences do not disarm or seriously limit armaments. The chief aim of any power at any of these conferences has not been to achieve disarmament to prevent war, but rather to get more armament for itself and less for any potential foe. There is only one way to disarm with any semblance of practicability. That is for all nations to get together and scrap every ship, every gun, every rifle, every tank, every warplane. Even this, if it were possible, would not be enough. The next war, according to experts, will be fought not with battleships, not by artillery, not with rifles, and not with machine guns. It will be fought with deadly chemicals and gases. Secretly, each nation is studying and perfecting newer and ghastlier means of annihilating its foes wholesale. Yes, ships will continue to be built, for the shipbuilders must make their profits. And guns will still be manufactured, and powder and rifles will be made, for the munitions makers must make their huge profits. And the soldiers, of course, must wear uniforms, for the manufacturer must make their war profits too. But victory or defeat will be determined by the skill and ingenuity of our scientists. If we put them to work making poison gas and more fiendish mechanical and explosive instruments of destruction, they will have no time for the constructive job of building greater prosperity for all peoples. By putting them to this useful job, we can all make more money out of peace than we can out of war, even the munitions makers. So, I say, to hell with war.
And there you have it. To hell with war. Short chapter, but a lot of good stuff in here. I'll try and keep it quick. Couple points I want to bring up. Woodrow Wilson, right, reelected in 1916 on the promise that he had kept us out of the war and he would keep us out of the war. And he didn't. And he was not the first, and he wouldn't be the last president to lie to the American public to get us involved with a war. Afghanistan, right? They told us we had to fight the terrorists over there to stop them from coming here. But they did come here, and they went all over Europe. So that didn't work out very well. And, Osama bin Laden, right? We were going to go get him. But strangely enough, he was in Pakistan. We didn't go to war with Pakistan to get bin Laden, right? Strange, very strange. We did a secret nighttime raid, and we went in with helicopters and special forces, and we grabbed him. Well, we took him out, and then we got out, right? Why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we have done that in Afghanistan? It would have saved a lot of time, a lot of money. a lot of lives. Just go in, take them out, leave. Why didn't we do that? Could it be maybe because the weapons manufacturers wanted a payday and the generals wanted a promotion? Maybe. Maybe. Another thing, Afghanistan, Osama bin Laden, 9/11, all that. Most of the hijackers were Saudi Arabians. So I always found that strange. Most of the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, and we were invading Afghanistan. And just odd. Really odd. I don't know about you, but I just find that really odd. So, Iraq, same thing, right? I mean, same thing, right? I mean, it's just strange how history repeats itself. Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction. He's going to blow us all up. Well, where were they? Where are they? Almost 20 years later, I'm still waiting. I'm waiting. Where are those weapons of mass destruction? Why are we still over there? What are we doing? And are the people any better off? He talks about making the world safe for democracy. 18 years after, the world has less of a democracy than it had then. Yeah, these people aren't any better off than when we started. Afghanistan, the Taliban's back, and now they have millions of dollars in United States military equipment that we left behind for them. So, who really made out on that war? Iraq, Saddam was a bad dude. There's just no way around it, right? I fully admit he was a bad dude. But we threw him down, and what happened? The country fell to terrorists that were kept at bay by Saddam. Saddam didn't put up with terrorists in his country. When we got rid of him, the terrorists moved in. And corruption moved in. I mean, look at ISIS. ISIS moved in. Who do you think the people of Iraq would rather deal with? Saddam Hussein, the dictator? Or horrible, awful ISIS terrorists who behead you if your clothes are the wrong color or whatever? I mean, you're in a rock and a hard place. One's a little better than the other, I would think, right? I mean, what were we doing over there? What was it for? They weren't any better off than when we started. We would have been better off. They would have been better off, the people of Afghanistan and Iraq. We would have been better off just leaving them alone. So anyway, next point. What caused the government to change its mind? Money. It's the love of money is the root of all evil, isn't it? There's an excellent YouTube video out there called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars, and I highly encourage you to check it out. It's really good. But yeah, money is a very big motivating factor. This Allied Commission, they came over, they had a meeting with the president and said, there's no kidding ourselves, the Allied cause is lost, we now owe you $5 or $6 billion. Paraphrasing here, but that's the gist of it. These weapons manufacturers and banks were about to lose their shirts because of all the stuff they loaned to Europe. And Germany wasn't going to pay them back if they won, right? And they weren't gonna get their deposit back on all the tanks they made or guns or whatever. So, I'm of the opinion that free markets work, and if you make a deal and you lose your shirt, that's on you, man. Like, I'm sorry, but it's business, right? And if you want to get involved with wars, especially people dying and making a mess of the world, making the world a horrible place. If you want to make bullets and bombs and make the world a horrible place, you should lose your shirt, right? There's no way around it. Like, you lost. Sorry. But I'm not going to risk going to the trenches just because you're going to miss a paycheck, right? Not my problem. It's not my problem. It's not our problem. And, I mean, I say this all the time, I'm going to say it again. That's one of the reasons why the Founding Fathers warned us about having a standing army, right? Because the generals, they want to get promotions. Admirals want bigger ships, bigger fleets. Weapons manufacturers want to sell the government more bullets. If we didn't have a standing army, this wouldn't be a problem. Now, I don't think they would have a problem with weapons manufacturers selling to other countries, Fine, all right, whatever. But our government's a little different. And, I highly encourage us. I think we should go back to the way the founders intended it, where we just have militias. And, if there is a threat of invasion or something's going on, then Congress needs to get together, declare war, and raise an army. That's how it should be. That's how it was meant to be. So, anyway, let's see. Disarmament conferences. Yeah, I kind of touched on that. The sailors don't want to disarm. No admiral wants to be without a ship. No general wants to be without a command. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got ahead of myself. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, okay. Last point. With all due respect to General Butler, he brings up a good point here. The only way to disarm with any semblance of practicability is for nations to get together and scrap every ship, gun, rifle, tank, and warplane. Those are wonderful sentiments, and they're good, and I wish we could. I really do. I do. I wish we could beat every sword into a plowshare, but it's just not going to happen. We need to be real about these things. And to be honest, let's just say we did. Let's say we did that somehow, through some miracle. We got rid of every ship and every tank and every plane and every gun. Human beings have been fighting since the dawn of time. Before guns, they were fighting with swords and spears and bows and arrows, and before that, they were fighting with rocks and sticks. And, just to jump out there, a little critique I have of the left, they like to focus on guns and weapons. Like, that's the problem. If we just get rid of the guns and the weapons, it'll be fine. Everything will be fine. Well, no, it's not. People kill each other with baseball bats. Melt down and break all the baseball bats. You see, that's where you and I differ, lefties, is you're all about hope and change, right? And it sounds nice. It sounds wonderful, but it's not actionable, right? I want action. I want to take real, legitimate action to limit these things, And believe me, nobody wants more than me to beat swords into plowshares. I do. I want that so much. I do. But it's not practical. And to be honest, maybe it is, but we got to start somewhere, right? And this isn't practical. So, like I said, people have been fighting with sticks and rocks. It's not the guns. It's not the guns. It's not the bombs. It's not the tanks. So what is it? It's the heart. We need to encourage people to have a heart full of truth and love. And to me, that's why Jesus isn't so important. To get a little preacher on you, if I may, I think that's why the Sermon on the Mount and the Bible and Jesus and all that is so important. I think that's where we need to start. Because taking away all the guns isn't going to take all the murderous intent people carry in their chests, right? It's a heart issue, right? We need to teach people. We need to show people how to love their neighbors. To do unto others as they would have them do unto themselves, right? To be kind to others. To share. To have compassion, empathy. That's where we need to start. Blowing up all the tanks and stuff. Maybe someday, if we change enough hearts, maybe we can. But that's where we need to start. Is here. And here, we need to change minds. We need to get people to think differently. If you think that that's not possible, I'm going to hit you with this, all right? Hear me out. Slavery? Not that long ago, in human time anyway, slavery was common. Everybody thought it was fine. Nobody had a problem with it. But then, slowly, surely, minds begin to change. And they begin to realize that, this thing is actually kind of wrong, right? It's not good. And then what happened? It changed. It ended. It stopped. Except for in Libya, where Obama and NATO bombed the crap out of that country and slavers moved in. But I digress. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there. I ruined it. I ruined the moment. No, let me try and get it back. It changed, right? Slavery, gone, mostly. It can happen, right? But it's got to start here. And it's got to start here. And that's why I want to encourage everybody to love your neighbor.
Well, anyway, I suppose that's enough sappiness for now. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Hope you have a wonderful week. I hope good things for you. You know, I hope things work out. Whatever you got going on in your life, projects or life events, life goals, whatever it is. You know, I hope it works out and turns out good for you. So, if it doesn't, I hope it does. You know, I hope things turn around for you. I hope things work out. You know, if you're struggling, don't try to do it alone. It really sucks. But yeah, I mean, reach out to me, let me know, or somebody. At the very least, I can keep you in my thoughts and prayers. If you are doing well, things are great, things are awesome. That's good. It's good. I'm happy for you. But like I've said before, try to remember the little people, you know, on your way. You know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I'm sure if somebody was down, if you were down, or I mean, heck, if I was down, I'd appreciate a little push. So, I don't know. Try to remember that. Yeah. I hope you all enjoy a very nice drink of something this week. I hope you get a moment of peace and quiet. It's good to just kind of reflect and, you know, relax a little bit. Get your brain going. Less stress, you know, just breathe it off. I do. I hope you get some peace in your life. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, anyway, don't think there's much more to say than that, other than take care, everyone. Good night.